Okay, folks, I have never in my life done this. Today is day one. I remember times in my life when I was acting like a preacher, and when I was young, in my younger days when I was learning the Bible and I was heavy in it. I was really anxious and holy anxiety, right? To know what it was like to be able to preach a message and people to actually hear me. And I never did get to that point. But you know what? Today is the day. I'm putting it on camera and I'm recording it for the entire world to see. That this is my very first opportunity to do that thing that I wished I could have done when I was a kid. Today, the kid resurrects himself and lives through me and gets to see and hear and even be a part of this little sermon that I'm going to preach right here for you. So I'm glad that y'all are the first ones to get to hear my message and to see me do the thing that I think that God has put me in this world to do. To whatever extent that may be, however that may be, whenever that may start, I have no idea. That's not in my control. I'm not the author of the starting point. I'm author of the showing up point. So without further ado, here we go. Started feeling myself get a little nervous because, well, I lost my keys, a set of my keys to the big truck. That's not good. So instead of freaking out and getting all bent out of shape and turning this thing into a belly of the whale experience, I have a revelation and I want to share it. You see, this week I've been studying the book of Jonah and Jonah's situation when he was in the midst of prayer. King James says in Jonah chapter 2, verse 1, that Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. Hold that thought. CSB says Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the belly of the fish. From the belly of the fish. Hold that thought. NET says Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the stomach of the fish. From the belly, out of the belly. All three of those different versions of the Bible says from the belly, out of the belly. Do you ever think about that being an action statement? Now, in our own English immediate translation or mindset, we might think, oh, he was just praying from him out of the fish's belly or from the stomach of the belly. Like, wait a minute. Do you ever think about that being an action statement? A statement that's saying where Jonah was in the moment of this prayer being spoken that he's about to speak in chapter 2? Think of this as an action statement. He is on his way out of the belly. After the prayer, immediately after the prayer, it even confirms that. And right there at the beginning, you can pinpoint the moment of Jonah's prayer being as the whale is swimming toward the shore where it is going to vomit him out. This is an action statement. Hear me out. This is an action statement. Think about all the moments of trials and tribulation that you have been through in your own life. Moments of your own history where things were just going so wrong, so bad. You were sick and diseased and going down into this belly, deep down to the point where you felt like you were dying. I don't know of any situation in life that is on the negative end or the bad side or the tribulation side of life that's a good and positive side. I don't know of it any situation like that at all. None of them are. You can't tell me that there was a moment of sickness when you felt your best. But let me ask you a question. In the moment of that sickness, that trial, that tribulation, that pain that you were going through, think about the entire span of the experience. What was the best place to be throughout the course of that experience in your sickness? What was the best place to be? I'll give you a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to think about it. Hit pause and really think about this. What was the best place to be? When I've asked that question to, said the same thing, down on my knees in prayer. That's great. I am not refuting that or disagreeing with that. I would be down on my knees in prayer too. But in the moments of sickness and you're down on your knees in prayer, you are most likely begging for mercy, begging for healing, begging for God to come and touch you and get rid of this thing. Yeah, that's all good, but that's not the best place to be. Same chapter, same book, same person. Verse 6. CSB reads, I sank to the foundations of the mountains. Let me just stop right there. The foundations of the mountains are not in the place where you can see the bottom of the mountain. Matter of fact, if you're in a desert and you see mountains and you see the valley and you see the sand and the dirt, the water is gone from those places. Those bottoms of the mountains used to be covered with water. And in Jonah's situation, where he's discussing the situation that he's in right now, the bottom of the mountains were below the surface of the sea. You cannot see the bottom of the mountain unless you're down there, right? I don't think there were any submarines back in that day. The only submarine in this story was a big fish. Matter of fact, nobody ever said it was a whale. Well, we translated it that way. Jesus didn't say it was a whale. Go back into the original translation if you want to argue words. Jesus didn't say it was a whale. He said it was a sea monster. A great sea monster. Anyway, that's beside the point. Bottom of the mountains. Jonah is sinking. He is on his way down. And it says, the earth's gates shut behind me forever. You know what? That is the place where look at King James calls it the bars of the earth. What is bars? what is a life sentence? Where are you in such a place? You're in a prison. You're in a prison, right? You have a life sentence. You are dying. You're dying. That's what Jonah felt like. Seaweed wrapped his face in his body, and he's just inside this, encapsulated in this place he called Sheol. I mean, in Jonah's prayer, he didn't even say he was in a fish. So whoever the narrator is in chapter 2, whether that was Jonah or somebody else, didn't describe Jonah's prayer as being inside of an actual physical fish. That's an argument, whether it was a moment in history or a parable. But I tend to believe that, like the rest of the Bible, and especially Jesus, a lot of it being spoken into parables, this is more of a parabolic place. And that's just me being theological and opinionated based on my own understanding. Not saying that it was a historic saying, or not saying that it was not a parable or whatever. It is what it is and appears to me, okay? So that's beside the point. Let's go back to this message here. The point here is Jonah was in this moment of destruction. And then right there in chapter 2, verse 6, after he was in the farthest depth of the pit of imprisonment that he was in, thinking he was going to die, everything changed in a moment, in a flicker. Because then Jonah said, speaking to God, "Then you raised my life from the pit, Lord my God." Now earlier, if you recall, I asked, what's the best place to be when you're going through an experience like this? Looking at the overall situation from start to finish, what's the best place to be? That's the best place to be. The moment that salvation arrives and you're in it. Look back at a point in your life, in a trial or a tribulation point, and you will see that the best place to be is in the moment of salvation starting its course. The moment when you are delivered out of the pit and out of the hell and out of the misery and the torment of the place you were, all of that just disappears. It goes away. Just like that, when salvation starts its course of delivering you out of that place. That's the best place to be. That's the best place. And that's why I say that this prayer that Jonah uttered and the recorded prayer that we have had to have been at the very moment when Jonah was being vomited out of that big fish. Because think about it. When you can actually look back into the memory that was created during a situation in your own life, all of the situations where the most memorable point was the moment that salvation set in. He was being ejected from this fish's mouth. He was on his way out. It's an action statement, like I said at the beginning. It was it's an action statement that Jonah said, or whoever the narrator was, out of the belly, out of the mouth, being vomited. Even it's confirmed at the end of the prayer. Take that prayer out for a second and look at it as being, there's an action statement. And what's going on is Jonah's being vomited out. I can't say it enough. That's the place it was. Just like any other place, the place of salvation is the best place to be in any trial or tribulation. So this story was inspired by a situation where I lost my keys from a big truck, right? And I didn't get upset. I didn't allow the upset to stress me out. I didn't let anxiety come in. I know, yeah, my keys. I got another set, but I don't want to not be without my keys. I had them yesterday, so they're somewhere at home or in the truck or in the house, and I'll find them when they come up. And just so happened, my steps, and there they were, right there on the ground overnight, because now that the water has gotten to them and tarnished some of the, that's fast. Wow. Oh, I found my keys. Salvation has arrived. And I felt that immediate change when I saw my keys laying there on the ground. That salvation period that I was talking about earlier here, that Jonah experienced in the midst of his prayer, I felt that. That's confirmation. And here's the real kicker. You know how they say faith is the substance of things, or what is it? The substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Basically, that's saying that, well, it's not real. But it is real, because the secret behind the sauce here is when you have the author of faith on your side, he shows you how it works and how it's real. And if you just believe in him, you will find the keys of the reality of faith that is in the kingdom of God. And what a beautiful thing. I can't wait to meet Jonah to find out if he was really in the fish.